YouTube. This is Sara, otherwise known as Old Timey Birdcage. My pronouns are she, her. So I'm just coming back for episode 3. Thanks for hanging in if you've been around, or thanks for showing up if you're new. This is my Flosstube. I primarily focus on cross stitch, but I do also dabble in other creative arts, and my interests may change frequently. So we'll see how this goes as far as sticking to cross stitch. But for right now, I would say my main focus is cross stitch. I had an eventful 2 weeks. We went to a steampunk convention in Louisville called Bourbon City. My spouse is actually an author, so we were selling some of their books, and it's a small con. It's only its second year, so it didn't have a huge attendance, which is to be expected. So we didn't have like a huge turnout, but we were excited for the people that were there. Everyone was nice. We sold a few books. We covered the booth fee, but that was about it. So it was kind of slow, but it's getting there. It was a little rough with the weather. We had that storm front come in, and like one morning we were woken up because hail was hitting the window. My partner and I and a friend of ours we brought with us to help us run the booth had an eventful time because I perhaps stupidly or ill-advisedly told the hotel staff that our sink in our bathroom was like not draining right. Like it was like if you washed your hands or brushed your teeth, the water would just like take forever to drain out. So I mentioned something at the front desk, and that meant that at like 7 p.m. at night, they told us we had to leave our hotel room and go to another one because they would have to like snake it and, take pipes out and everything because that's the only way they could fix it. So we had to shuffle around Saturday night. So Sunday morning, we were very tired. We packed up and headed home. So kind of hectic, but it was the best we could do, and the hotel staff were nice about it. I don't blame them for anything. It was one of those situations. So I spent a lot of time at the con working on my cross stitch so I can get some of that out. Steampunk for me is like more about the historical aspect, so I like learning about the history of the Victorian period, and I did a few panels on like things like Mary Shelley and the Victorian history of Frankenstein, as well as up to today. I also did a panel on women's clothing from like Victorian period, and how there's lots of misconceptions, mostly because of people using ill-advised sources. For instance, a lot of the sometimes TikToks you'll see about like how terrible corsets were are referencing like political cartoons from the time that were about like making fun of women for existing, basically. So I gave a presentation on that. That was pretty popular. Okay, we mostly just looked at the political cartoons. Like there's one that's a woman was like turned into a snail because of how like pronounced the rump was on the clothing she was wearing, and she had like a big tall hat, and so the cartoonist drew her as a snail. That was pretty funny. Also lots of women just walking around doing their own thing, wearing bloomers or pants or something, and how dare they. So but while we were there, I did a lot of cross stitch at the show, just as like something to do in the evening or something to do while we were sitting at the booth. Again, like it wasn't very, very busy, so we did have some downtime. So one of the things I worked on was my dimensions kit, the Magic in Motion. So let me get that. So as a reminder, here is the kit. Sorry for the glare. There you go, that's better. So I found this on eBay. It is stitching up pretty nice. It is not, I would say, beginner maybe friendly. It does do blends, and it has 3 threads at once on 14 count Aida, so it is a little thick, but here is what I have so far. So I got a lot more of like the robe in here and down here. It's really starting to come together. I'm leaving like the gold stars to last, so that's what those empty holes are for. So it's really looking neat. I have made some mistakes, so I don't want to give the impression that you can't do cross stitch if you aren't perfect. But so there are some counting errors in here, but I've managed to fudge things. It is like a flowing robe, so if things are off by a stitch or two, it's not the end of the world. I got a lot of comments when I was working on this. Like, a lot of people were really interested in what I was doing. So a lot of people said they did cross stitch or embroidery as well. There was a panel on embroidery, but it like overlapped with time where I had to be at the booth, so I couldn't go. But I would have liked to have gone for that too. I know some very basics about embroidery, like satin stitch, back stitching is used a lot in cross stitch, so I've used that. But other than that, not much. I've done some kits. Actually, I can show you just one second. So here's an embroidery kit I've done. It's those little kits. I'll have to look up Kiriki. It's on the back. But Kiriki, so our local store sold these, and they're just a little embroidery kit where it has like a printed animal, and you embroider on the stitches to fill it out, and then you stuff it. It comes with everything you need, except I think it didn't have a hoop, but I owned a hoop that was small enough that it worked. But yeah, super cute. Again, just basic stitches, satin stitch, little back stitches. There's like kind of a special stitch to make the bow tie. If it'll focus. But yeah, so that's like the extent of my experience with embroidery. So I definitely would like to get more into it. It's just intimidating. I don't know, because there's like much less direction of, okay, it needs to be exactly 3 stitches or 3 blocks away from this one stitch to get to your next stitch. With embroidery, it's just kind of like, okay, here's the pattern, just kind of make it. So I definitely want to get more into it though. Next on my list of whips is, it was the full moon, actually, while we were at the convention. So I did bring my full moon stitch, and I worked on it on and off all day, so I did make some progress. I'm sorry for the sniffling. So this is Barbara Anna Designs, the Black Cat Hollow Part 1. I'm stitching it on, 16 count Aida by Needle Bling in Broomgrass. And I'm using the DMC that's called for, except for the black, I'm using like a pearl cotton that I had left over from another project. So that's where I am. Let me see if I have the... Yeah, there's the design. Again, just some witches. So I'm kind of in here where it has like the lettering and some pumpkins that have kind of started to outline. I did have a counting error. Sorry. At one point, but I decided I couldn't really fudge it, so I picked it out because it would have messed up with the little houses. So this is where I am so far. I just kind of worked on some of the olive colors. So I got some of this kind of tree or branch in, and the ground. I'm enjoying it so far. A lot of people like seeing it. Again, this was like one of the first things I was working on, so it got me talking with the sellers next to us. Actually used to sell cross-stitch fabric or just like embroidery fabric, hand-dyed fabric. So they showed me pictures of like they had done mirabilias and lavender and lace ones. They said they didn't do any more just because of their eyesight. It was harder to do. But yeah, we got to talk about that for a little while. So that was fun. You never know who you're going to run into when you do cross-stitch in public. Next I have, this one is Irish Blessings. This one I had started last time. I hadn't brought it with me for the trip, so I got a little less work on it. So here's the pattern. So it's by Tiny Modernist. It's an Irish blessing. It says, "May your troubles be less and your blessings be more, and nothing but happiness come through your door." And this is my first time, I'm stitching on the called for fabric with called for DMC. This is my first time doing like I think it's like Lugana or an even weave. So this is my first time using that. It was maybe not the best pattern to start with because there's so much backstitch in the middle. But here is my progress. Yeah, so I finished this saying in the center. And I think I made some counting errors maybe somewhere because when I went to map out this corner, like it was definitely off. Like I didn't have space. So I did kind of fudge some of these leaves closer together. I mean, it's an organic shape, so it'll work out okay, I think. But I kind of started up here, worked my way down, and I'm going to snake around here. So I like the look of it. The even weave is definitely nice to stitch on. Like again, like my other projects, I tend to go for dark fabric. So the white fabric is like a very nice break. I wanted to make sure I worked on it on St. Patrick's Day as like kind of a Irish celebration thing. And like it's definitely like lots of different colors of green. They're coming out really beautifully. I'm saving the final backstitch, like the backstitch on top of the leaves, till later because some of them like do overlap each other. So I just want to get everything stitched. And then once I'm done with the cross stitches, I can go back in and do the back stitching on top. We'll see if that's a mistake or not. But the main back stitches are all in the same color, so it won't mean I have to dig around for other colors or anything. So I see how that goes. Again, it's very pretty so far. I really like it, but maybe the big giant quote in the middle wasn't the best start for starting in the middle. I'll have to rethink how other projects I do. I like knowing that I have enough fabric, but again, like I could maybe just do some better measuring and start from like the left top corner or something, because I tend to like to work from left top down. But you know, that'll come from future projects. I did have some acquisitions, so I did place a pre-order for the Nashville market with Keepsakes. So Keepsakes, let me know my order came in. It was like when I was just leaving for the convention last weekend, so I couldn't pick it up at first, but when we came back, I was able to pick it up. But the pattern I ordered was the Rebel Stitcher Designs Disagree. So here's the pattern. Okay, and the quote on it is, "We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist." So, and they've got a description of what the quote is and why they chose it. It's attributed to James Baldwin a lot on the internet, but it's actually a quote from Robert Jones Jr. I think their handle on Twitter was like "son of Baldwin," so that's why a lot of people associate with Baldwin. But yeah, that's theirs, and it's a Quaker style. I'd never done a Quaker style, so I was interested in that too. I love this butterfly, and just the general like look of it. I thought it'd be really pretty to like do and hang up on my wall. I'm interested in Quaker style. Like, I want to learn more about like the history of it, but it's hard to find like history books about just like the embroidery. Maybe I can find history books on like Quakers in general, and it might have some information. But I'm interested in like basically why Quaker style is the way it is. Like, why is it geometric and, you know, asymmetrical sometimes, and if it's just like the style of the time, or if it means something, because I think the way the Quakers are an interesting group of people, because they believed in like equality for everybody, including women, including people of color, ending slavery, education for everybody. So I do like to learn about the Quakers more. And especially when it comes to the embroidery and the crafts they were doing, but also their culture and just the history of what they were doing in New England. I know that they were involved in like kind of the spiritualist movement, I think, too, which I'm very fascinated with. So I definitely want to learn more. But while I was at Keepsakes, I decided to kit this up. So the fabric I chose is from Atomic Ranch. It's linen. So this is my first time going to be stitching with linen as well. So that's an extra challenge. It's 32 count, because that's what the pattern called for, a 32 count linen or fabric, I guess. And the color way is Bayou. There's the information, but here's like, I just like the mottled kind of greeny, brown, reddish, orangish tone to it, the kind of natural look. Like I know it's hand dyed, but like it looks like it's naturally found that way, you know what I mean? Because now the pattern calls for a dark blue. So it calls for Classic Colorworks and Granny Annie. It says 7 skeins are needed. So I looked at that at the store. It's a pretty blue, but what I really want to do is a red sampler, because I've been seeing some red samplers, like historical and modern, and like I really like the look of it, and I want to, you know, do a red one. So what I did is I picked out some DMC number 666. Again, sorry if you're superstitious about that number. My spouse is, so I'm not going to tell them what the color is. But this bright, bright red, because I've heard people like this is their favorite red for a red sampler, and I really liked it, so I picked that out first. And then I went and looked at the fabrics. I found that Bayou and thought that that would be a good contrast, because we got this against this. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. And the quote is not backstitch. I did look in the pattern. It is cross stitches. So it won't be like a middle quote with cross stitches, but it is a big quote in the middle again, so I'll have to be careful. I may just go through and just try to start from the middle top or the top or top left and see how it goes, because I think I would prefer that as a style. Okay, and another acquisition when we were at the show, again, it was kind of slow, so I was looking for things that I could get from other vendors that I could use that weren't just like, you know, something that would take up space in our house. So this is from Professor St. Punk's Emporium, Gadgetometers. They have a website, gadgetometers.com, if you want to check them out. But they had a bunch of different stuff, but the one of the women working there saw me doing cross stitch and asked me about it, and was asking me like, oh, do you do crewel work or do you do embroidery? And I was telling her it was cross stitch and like a 90s kit, and you know, we talked about it for a little while. And they also sold some embroidery scissors, so she recommended like these little ones. And I love the copper color of them, because I don't often see that in like embroidery scissors. So I got these. They were $10, I think. And I found like now that I have multiple projects on the go, I sometimes don't have my scissors with me, because I kept switching my scissors from my full moon project to my dimensions kit. So I wanted to get some more little scissors to put into bags, so I always have one. So those are really, really cute, and they're really pretty, so I'm glad to have those. And we talked about how, you know, our spouses are not allowed to touch them. When you have like the special knitting or embroidery scissors, that you can't use them for anything else. Next, I didn't bring this with me on the trip, but this is my knitting. So this is the continuation. So this is the Sheep Camp sweater by Jennifer Berg. I'm just going to hold it up here for you so you can see the color work on the top. So I'm almost done with one sleeve. So I'm doing the sleeves as written in the pattern. I haven't extended it or anything yet. It seemed like a good length when it told me to stop. So I'm just started the ribbing. I'm going to switch from the loop method to double pointed needles because I just don't like, the needle tips I have are pretty long for like a small circumference like a sleeve. So I want to switch to double pointed needles. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. It is pretty cropped. I did decide to do it pretty cropped. I don't have a ton of yarn left. This is all I have left of what would have been my last ball of yarn. I caked up the ball of yarn that I purchased. This is, I forget the Killing Wool's Scout in Plum Heather is the main color. The white is like an unknown undyed from my stash. So I'm sorry, I don't have specifics on that. It was probably Lamekins or what's it called? Like the June Moon Farms, something like that. That brand, because I bought some of that before. But I don't have specifics on it, I'm sorry. But I was working the 2X. Somehow I got extra stitches on the armhole. I'm not sure if maybe I just extended that or miscounted when I was doing that or something. But my armhole is a little bigger, but that's okay. It just gives me a little more room. So I'll just have to recount on the second sleeve and make sure I'm counting that right. As far as future plans, I am getting excited. It is getting to be spring. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, the classic itchy nose. But it is getting to be spring, so I'm getting more excited about the garden. I have like a raised bed that I've gridded up. So I've got some spots there. I've also got some seeds already that I purchased last year or that I got some other way. Like this, here's my seed haul kind of. But I also want to get some other things. I maybe want to look into buying like just plants and putting them out once it's thawed out. We're kind of in the danger zone of still within, you know, it might get freezing temperatures sometimes, so I haven't planted anything yet. The garden is also still kind of a mess because I don't want to clean out, you know, garden beds or anything because, again, bees might be sleeping there or bugs or some other, you know, critters. I did see a worm the other day. I was like picking a random blade of grass out of the raised bed and like I saw an earthworm crawling up. So that I think that's a really good sign that we've got healthy soil. So that's good. So I've got, from my spouse got me as a gift some Johnny's seeds. This is broom corn. So this is if you want to make your own like broom, like sweeping broom, this is what you use. I had taken a workshop where we made our own brooms and I thought it was really fun. So I want to try to get into that. I bought a kit to like make a couple more brooms. I've made one more since the workshop. It is a lot of work, but I really want to try to grow my own broom corn and just see if I can get more into that as a hobby. We also talk about selling brooms at shows or something as like just a fun thing to do. I'm also interested in growing more of our food. Again, like one example, like peas. We eat peas, so we like to put it in stroganoff. So I've got some, these are shelling peas. And they're from Botanical Interests. So again, I just picked these up at the local garden center like last year. Didn't get to plant them, so we'll get those out maybe in the spring. I also got these on sale. This is corn, like a popcorn breed. So this is Robust Pop. So I was thinking that'd be fun if we could grow corn just for popcorn and like see if we can give that away as gifts. I'm interested in like giving more edible things away as gifts. I did make some pickles this summer, and that we gave some of those away as gifts at Christmas, and people really loved them. So I want to get more into like pickling and preserving and drying foods so that you can give them as gifts to people. I also got some like native plants. I really want to grow more native plants for like the pollinators and just like the environment in general. Like want to protect the environment. So these, I think I got these there is sometimes like local gardens. The local community garden will have like a big sale. I think they usually have one in fall and one in spring. So I maybe should check and see if there's one coming up. But they have like a big native plant sale. So these were native seeds for lyre-leaf sage. I want some stuff that takes shade. We've got like a really shady part in the backyard that I think would be good to make like a pollinator kind of wild patch. So I wouldn't have to, overly worry about taking care of it. And because it's kind of on a hill, it'd be hard to like manage if I'm growing food in it or something. And also just attract pollinators. I've also got some red Hopi amaranth seeds. I took another course on natural dyeing, and the amaranth is an example of a natural dye plant. If you look them up, they're like a really pretty, beautiful red plant. So I think I don't know if those are native to my area, but they are native to North America. So I was thinking about planting some of that, again, for natural dye purposes. See if I can maybe dye some things. You can get some nice reds out of it. I do have some other plans for other things. Like we definitely want to try to grow tomatoes again. Last year, I tried to grow a tomato plant, but the local groundhog decided that they were hungry and ate them all up while they were still green. The pickle plant was a lot more productive. I used a pickle bush plant, and I just had one in a pot. So it was very productive. So I was able to make like several jars of pickles, and we also had like fresh cucumber for salads and things. So I definitely want to try either another pickle bush or maybe try a vining cucumber and see how that goes, because the groundhog left those alone. Cucumbers have like a little prickliness to them, the leaves and the plant, the actual like fruit. So I think that maybe deters pests, but we'll see. Maybe I just got lucky. But I also want to try, and there's like a hole in the fence, I think, where the groundhog comes in through. So I think I just want to try to either fix that hole or get like, we've got some pallets just lying around that we're using as kind of like latticing for things, so we could maybe put that up, lean that against the fence, and see if that'll just deter Buddy the groundhog that we named. See if that'll keep Buddy out of our garden. We've also got, I want cucumbers, tomatoes. We eat a lot of carrots, so I was going to try to see if I get a spring crop of carrots in. Some other vegetables that we like to eat. Again, like not because of, I know I'll talk about this later, but like not because of like, I don't believe in science and farming and technology, but I do want to just try to grow my own things for like, just for my own enjoyment, just to watch something grow and know that you helped this grow and you made it yourself, basically. It's really satisfying. Sorry, just a second. I also, there's also some things I want to try to grow, like beets, but my partner doesn't like beets, so I don't know how successful we'll be with eating those all up if I try to grow them. I tried to grow some of those things over like the late fall, winter season, but it just got too cold too soon, and they all kind of died off. We have one, I think, garlic bulb that is hanging in there. I planted some, it was just store-bought garlic that I got for the pickles, and we had extra cloves. So I planted them just to like see what would happen. Again, I think most of them died off, but there is one big tall stalk that is still growing. So we'll see if come this summer we have a garlic bulb in there, but I'm not gonna hold out hope for it. Okay, so that's it for future plans right now. I don't know when I'm gonna kit up or start working on the Rebel Stitcher Disagree pattern. I do kind of want to keep my whips to like where they are now. I don't want to overwhelm things with too many stitches. I do know some people are running maybe a stitch along for that one in summer, so I'll maybe hold on to it for a little while and see what goes on with that, and see if I can find a stitch along I can join, or if just I can maybe finish one of my whips and then get that going. As for watching and reading, so recently I watched the Fundy Fridays video on Ballerina Farm. That was fascinating. And that's kind of what got me started thinking about like homesteading in general, as like I want to be more self-reliant and know how to grow my own food and, you know, do things like make my own pickles and things, but I also believe in vaccines. So it's like a balance that I want to try to get across, that I'm not doing this because I feel like it's my duty as a wife to serve my partner, you know, homegrown tomatoes. It's because I enjoy it, and we enjoy it as a couple as well. To do this, it's not about me serving anyone or me not believing in like things like vaccines and pasteurization, things like that. So it is always a difficult balance with online when you find somebody that's into gardening and, you know, wants to do organic things, and then it's like they say something that's just a little something about like you know, raw milk was good enough for my grandmother, and it's like a lot of people died. Like there's a reason we pasteurize milk. Drink pasteurized milk. Don't drink raw milk. Like, again, like it's your body, your choice, but be careful. So I watched that from Fundy Fridays. They have a great channel. I really like to watch their deep dives every once in a while when I have time. As for reading, as like kind of a brain break, I picked up a murder mystery. So this is Murder Among the Pyramids by Sara Rosett. Sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But I enjoy things like the Golden Era mysteries, like Agatha Christie's. Again, notwithstanding the racism and sexism that can be found in those books. So I like modern kind of interpretations of those, like the Phryne Fisher series that I talked about, watching the show, the books. I've read some of the books. I also like the books. And like modern interpretations such as Amelia Peabody series. That's like one of our favorite series. My partner and I like to quote that at each other all the time. But so I picked this up because it's like, oh, it's 1920s. It's you know, in Egypt among the pyramids, you know, feisty lady detective. So far it is, I'm enjoying it, but I wouldn't say it's like up there with like a Phryne Fisher or an Amelia Peabody. I'm enjoying it. It's the first one in the series, so it's kind of like establishing characters, but it is just kind of like a very standard mystery, cozy thing. So far, I think it is interesting that the main character, Blix, is like a professional ladies' companion, because that is like a career you could have at that point, and also like travel lecturer. I think that's very interesting, and that she's got an interesting backstory that they're starting to get into, where she was raised in like high society and was kind of then shunned, so she had to find her own way. So I'm enjoying that about halfway through-ish. So, and again, it's trying to turn my brain off, but not really, because I'm thinking about like, okay, this is kind of colonial. This is super class you know, striation is a huge thing at the time, and so it's I'm definitely kind of balancing all that in my mind, but I am enjoying it. So I enjoyed speaking with you guys today. Thanks for coming by again. Remember to stay safe. You know, look after yourself. Your mental health and your physical health are important, and I hope you're all doing well. And thanks for coming by again, and have a good day.